Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. So today's project, or at least however far I managed to get today, this has been a long time coming. I know I had a video of the teardown of this. This is Tim's 550 that we're looking at, and it's taken this long to find what we needed to put it back together. There wasn't a lot over the summer. On eBay for 550s. There was a few. There was one part saw I missed that probably would have worked, but I was on vacation at that time, so it is what it is. Anyway, quick recap. This is the one that had a nice scored up piston, and the rings are seized in the landings. That was not going to be reusable. And I really questioned the cylinder. There's enough grooving right there by the danged muffler. I didn't feel good about reusing it. Probably could have. But could have, when a guy's already spending this kind of money, that gets rough. So I'd been on the lookout for either a new, cylinder and piston, new cylinder, a good used engine, whatever. Finally, a couple weeks ago, I saw this nice complete assembly show up, and it was advertised for a 450. Well, thankfully, the seller was able to take a picture of that casting number on the cylinder, and I knew, no, that's not a 450, that's a 550. So I snagged that, happier than hell, and I don't know where I put it, but I went ahead and ordered a Little Red Barn piston, because 550 pistons aren't all that common. Let's be real. I don't know when the last time was I saw a new old stock one. I personally have never had one in a lot of parts that I've purchased. So, purchased that. They don't install the wrist pin bearings. Whoever the supplier is, whatever agreement they have, they don't do that. So you don't even have wrist pin bearings. So you're either stuck trying to press out your old ones and reuse them, which is, as you can see, you basically have to press through, all the way through one side. You're not going to get it out in the middle of the journal there. So that's not the best scenario. So I was able to read on here that these are a Torrington B68. And I went ahead and ordered one of these envelopes. Yeah, pretty cheap. I want to say they were $6 or $7 a piece. Not bad. But then, the night after I order these, and I've already ordered that Little Red Barn piston, what do you suppose appears on eBay? A seller that has 3 of these. Now, I don't want to embellish. I think I bought the last one. I think 2 had already been purchased. But whatever the case is, I managed to snag one. So a new old stock 93995 550 piston with the proper thin rings. The Little Red Barn ones are going to be thick rings. Now, I could care less. I personally prefer a thick ring. I realize that there's some performance gains by a thin ring, but I think the durability of a thick ring, whatever. But when I found the right OEM part, I was like, holy shit! What are the odds? So, here we are today, and I want to at least, get this thing started, because Tim, I believe this was his dad's saw, before his dad gave it to him, and so, this was one of those things. Tim wanted to do it right. We communicated a lot, looked at options for replating, boring, just all kinds of stuff, and in the research process, we just didn't come up with a lot that the average Joe, if you're, an actual business of normal or reasonable size, if you're a true saw shop, maybe a company like US Chrome will, talk to you, but these kind of one-off jobs are a little tough to get done. So we just agreed, hey, I'll box up the guts, and I don't care to do that a whole lot. I don't like leaving stuff laying around, but in this particular case, it worked out. So when I let Tim know that, hey, I've got everything, and it's actually the right stuff, his response kind of it resonated with me because he's like, hey, this would be really cool if I could show my dad a running saw at Thanksgiving. So we're sitting here on October 30th. Thanksgiving is still well over 3 weeks away. So we're going to try our damnedest to make that happen, because I know how nice and how much fun that can be to show your dad something, you know, that's really cool. I don't have that opportunity anymore, so if I can help a guy who does, by shit, we're gonna give it a good go. So that's enough jaw jacking. Let's get down to business. Homelite on this style of engine, from the Super 2 all the way up through this 550 with this clamshell design, and actually I think in the 750s, 650s and 750s had the same kind of setup. They like to match the cylinder to the crankcase. Now, I've mixed them up before. It's not a big deal. You can, you know, they sold them as an assembly. I don't know if there's a real great reason for that, but that's how they did it, so that's how we're going to use it. One plus is that means there's a new automatic oil pump diaphragm already installed in there, and we all know how much those cost these days, so that's a neat thing. Another bonus is all the hardware is there, and this is, you know, I don't even have to clean up the old hardware. I just put that in the parts bin, and which is going to be that old cylinder at this point. We'll transfer the chain catch over at some point, but there's a couple things on these that you want to pay attention to. We obviously need to get the piston installed on that, but I'm going to open this up first because there's a crankcase vent passage that serves as the actuation for that oil pump that you've got to be careful as you're putting your sealer in. You don't want to fill that passage full. And Homelite actually installed, I don't like that fit. I wonder if that's metric. Or maybe, no, that's right. That stupid Harbor Freight T-handle set is missing one critical size in between. Or I'm a jackass. There's always that possibility too. Okay. These have lock nuts, and this is actually something that drives me. It's just a loose fit. I don't think. Nah, it's even looser. Just sized goofy. It's not going to strip, so. Homelite adopted some of McCulloch's practices that I consider less than savory on these saws, and instead of threaded metal, you've got nuts that sit in here. So as you take a fastener apart, you're going to have a corresponding nut that's ready to fall out. Again, I personally I don't like that style. But it does have its bonuses. You're not going to strip, you know, a casting and have to screw around with doing, come on you, damn it, these T-handles. I hate the price of some of the so-called professional ones, but I might have to consider it one of these days. Anyway, you're not going to strip a nut out in all likelihood. And if you do damage the threads, you can fairly easily replace it. Come on, baby. But if you got an old greasy saw that you're taking apart, and you don't notice that, and you go out to your cleanup area and you start hosing crap down, all of a sudden you could be short a lot of fasteners, so don't do that to yourself. So you all have already figured out this is going to end up being a longer video. So while there's good stuff to talk about and demonstrate, I will just keep doing it like this. At a certain point, I'm going to do like I did on that, yeah, what was it? Was it a 925? Build up from scratch? Whatever saw that was a month or two ago. I will flip on the music and then turn it off when I actually have something to say that's worth saying. There is another socket. That one is stuck in there well enough. I'll leave it. It's a risk. You gotta listen for the tink and falling on the floor, where you know you gotta go searching when you do that. But I'll take the gamble on this one. I don't know how many videos there are of 550s, 450, 550 style saws being worked on out there, so that one's stuck pretty well too. So we'll just we'll make sure that we add one to the mix. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Just do a quick oil wipe on that cylinder, get the dust out. So you can see here where the crank bearings are going to reside, there's these machine grooves. You're going to want to keep sealer on the outside of those grooves. Light around the crankshaft seal, but not on the bearings themselves. And that groove is for that retainer ring right there, and that's going to also help us set our side-to-side play on these. And then there, so I lied, this one being a service part, they did not put foil on it. That's interesting. So that'll just up the ante to not screw it up, because you've actually got an oil passage in there. So I misspoke. It's not the pulse passage for the automatic oiler to actuate, excuse me, is right there. This is an actual oil passage. So this would be the inlet, and then it's got to pass through, go to the bar pad. So if you get crazy with your sealer and it oozes in there and fills this up, guess what's not going to work? And that doesn't end well. Because you don't want to rely on having it all together and thinking, oh, I can take this fitting off and blow some compressed air. No, ain't going to work. It'll be taking the saw apart again. So that we want to be real careful of. So let's go ahead and we'll wipe down this cylinder. So it's real easy to get to a point where you're ready to slam stuff together and you go, oh crap, I forgot to do that. Again, I don't see anything major in here, but there's definitely some dust and such from sitting around for the better part of 40 years, because that's probably about how old this new old stock part is. So that just makes it even more amazing that we're about to install it on a saw and get it to a point where a dude can use it again. Alright, we'll oil that better before we go to assemble it. So, these crankshaft bearings don't show any sign of being bad to me. What I do believe is that these crank seals are good and worn. Now, some of that garbage that's up there could just be normal accumulation because that's the clutch side, but it's hard to say. No scoring on the crankshaft. bearing fits fine. But we're going to get those out of there. And the installation notes indicate to install the bearing with the writing side inward. So that's what we will do. And I won't mix those two up. Not that I think it matters, but yeah. We'll just pretend it's a set of lifters on a small block Chevy, which you don't mix up. At least not if you want your camshaft to survive. Alright, that looks good. So, we have our piston to install. Now, these don't use a retainer because, like the smaller 360s, the pin actually presses into the connecting rod, and then the bearings, the pin floats freely, you know, in and out of those. Cosmoline's still left in that one. Plus, it's brand new and tight. Or it's just tight. Well, we'll give it a nice coating of oil. It'll be fine. So we'll want to install this with the anti-rotation pin facing the flywheel side. That way it's away from the muffler and any transfer ports that are going to cause problems. Where the hell did I put that tool? There we go. I may regret this, but we're going to try it. I bought one of the God, who is it? No, I won't be able to use it. I'm trying to think of the seller's name. You see him on eBay. He's on YouTube too. Duke's Saw Supply. He carries these. They're for exactly what I needed to do there, but that is not big enough of a wrist pin. So we'll do it the old-fashioned way with a little tappy. Come on, baby. Line up. Man, I inhaled a piece of sawdust or something off of this damn shirt that I was firewood cutting in. I'm going to go get a drink of water and I will be back. Okay, hopefully I got that out of my system. That was annoying. Stuck right at the back of my damn throat. Let's see if we can tap this pin into place without any drama. we go. Nice and even. Of course, now I gotta knock the tool loose. Bingo. Yeah, I guess drilling a hole would be why that took a little bit there at the end. But, being on the piece of wood like that, no damage to the piston and cylinder, or piston and rings. Hopefully my brain kicks into gear and connects with my mouth soon. So, got the anti-rotation pins facing the right direction. It's perfect. Let's see about stacking in our bearings and then prepping this crankcase to receive this assembly. So, before I get too far along and forget what I'm doing, get a little bit of oil up in there just for good measure. Get a little bit into the rod bearing down here, which looks phenomenal. I mean, this bottom end looks great. So I don't know what happened, why it scored. I don't know if some debris got sucked, if she ran a little lean and overheated. I just don't know. Okay. Now the key here is get enough oil in there that you can lubricate but not make a mess. I mean, it'll burn off when you start it, but you don't want to create a situation where you've got stuff dripping everywhere as you're trying to apply sealer to the crankcase halves. That is what you do not want to have happen. Alright. Clean these spacer clips up, retainers, whatever you want to call them. And then we will use, I think these came from Duke's also. Nope, those are Little Red Barn. These are their crankshaft seals to replace the 12306s that are so hard to find. And they have removed whatever manufacturer packaging, so I don't know what seal number it is. What I do know is that it appears to be the absolute correct seal, so that's good. Yeah, good tight fit. Might be a little tighter than OEM, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. Alright, so I'm going to snug that up pretty much tight, even though that's not where I'm going to want it, excuse me, in the end. It'll at least hold everything where I want it. Alright, thinking strategy now. Let's get some oil in this cylinder for assembly. This has a tapered bore at the end there, so being recessed like that, I don't know how the hell would you get a ring compressor down in there anyhow, but there we go, we should be good. Okay, this makes for a smoky first start, but it's okay. That is okay. Alright. Mental checklist says we haven't missed anything important yet. Try to keep it that way. So let's go to our Moto Seal. And what I like to do, especially with this style, is we're going to go ahead and put a little globular in there. We'll spread that around with a tool for the seal here. Now remember, I said we're going to try and keep our sealant on the outside of the ring, the retaining ring hole. Probably more than we need, but it shouldn't be enough to make a mess. Okay. So from there, we're going to transition over to this. I'm going to go ahead and give that a thinner wipe. Actually acetone, to be correct here, just to make sure that we don't have any unexpected surprises. Alright. So I should have probably looked at that a little closer. Alright, so pretty much I'm looking at where I want to put sealer and where I don't. Okay. Got it. Suppose a guy could trace it with pencil. I can pretty much see the outline of it now that I'm paying attention. I just don't like making a mess with this stuff. Probably got out of frame on the other one too. Sorry about that. All I'm doing is wiping this around to make a nice smooth surface there. Now it's cold enough this morning that I'm in no hurry. I'm not afraid of this stuff setting up too soon. Alright. I can see a slight discoloration from where the cylinder was sitting, and if I get a little outside of the line, so to speak, that's okay. Just aiming for not a lot. Alright, now this is where I'm going to be careful around that oil passage. And the rest of that I'm going to do by hand. Okay, I know I'm outside of the lines a little bit here. Before this starts tacking up, make sure we got it nice, even. Doesn't have to be thick, just has to be there. And that spot's a little thin. There we go. Now we got to get that outside passage. Fortunately, that doesn't have crankcase pressure against it, so it's easy. If you just get some sealer on it, it's going to seal. because the overall pressure from the oil pump is going to be pretty minor. There we go. I like that. Okay. The rest of this is laid down pretty well. And that's starting to tack up. Okay. Looking pretty good. All right. Set that aside. Okay. Intake, exhaust. I want to go in this way. Okay. Come on, baby. What the hell? There she goes. Alright. Alright, so as you're dropping this down, try and make it so you got... Ah, shit. You don't want to do too many of those, but you want to try and square this up so that you're dropping it straight down, and ideally you're going to hit those spacer rings into the groove on the first pass. So far, I have not achieved that for Sour Owl shit. There we go. There's that one. There we go. Come on. Knucklehead. Come on, baby. Those tight crank seals make that a little bit difficult. Okay. Over there. Now with those spacers, you don't want them to line up right at the crankcase half. You want them to be offset. Now if I'd really been thinking ahead, I probably could have placed them down, but as we sandwich that other half of the crankcase on here is going to pull it good and tight. Now, the bearing depth, man, this is tight. It's going to determine your side to side. See, that's quite a little bit there. We don't like that. So, get that tightened up just a smidge. But you want it to be centered in the bore. Okay. Now that, in theory, would make it too tight. There's a hammer method that is detailed in the service manual that is kind of interesting. Go with that. That crankshaft sealed it. Sit there straight. Okay, we're gonna give that a shot. Make sure you've got your bar studs pointed at the right direction. Okay, now my reckoning says that went in pretty damn well. Almost too well. So let's put in one of the... So that's a great example of what you don't want to do. God damn it. Come on. You want to keep it in place so that you're not losing your dang sealant. And I think that, yeah, that one stayed in. Okay, I'm not going to go super tight because I don't need to yet. Dang it. These orange gloves have good grip, but you lose a little dexterity in the tight spot. Is that what those were? No. Nope, nope, nope. Use your brain, dummy. There we go. Nice. See, that's sucking together real nice. Almost too nice. I'm gonna get everything started and then tighten the inner first, and then we'll work our way out. We're gonna get everything started. Seals look square in the bore. Oh yeah. Okay. No interference. Man, I'm kind of liking that. I almost feel like this is going to go well. And Tim, if you're watching this, it's definitely going to go well. Why they did that. Goofy people. Okay, now I'm going to have to tighten. I'll do this one dead last because it's got that foam retainer. So there's a, I'm honestly not sure why they put that foam, oh, the atmospheric vent for the automatic oil pump is buried way the hell up in there. It's a tiny little hole, so that's to keep grease and crap out of there. So that actually makes sense. Alright, like I said, we're going to tighten these inner ones good and tight. And then we'll work the outer ones down, and we'll do that one with the foam last. Okay, that'll work. Nice. We are almost there, folks, to having a rotating assembly. Nice. Super stoked. I say, this took so long to come together. I don't know if the video will pick that up, but my neighbors have the absolute worst car alarm on the face of the planet. I would have to cut my horn wire if it sounded like that. Good Lord. Alright. That foam has 40 years of shape to it, and it's going to stay that way. Beautiful. Let's get these down here. Okay. We have a rotating assembly, folks. Now that's not bad. That's actually phenomenally cool. So, again, just check out. You can see I've got some slop out of sealant. It's not horribly excessive. Probably could have gone a slight bit thinner in spots. But all in all, we've got consistency. The seals are square in the bore. That's what you want. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm not going to complain about that at all. So that old seal is going to go in the garbage where it belongs. So I won't be able to run this today. It's definitely cool enough that I am not confident that that moto seal will set up enough that under crankcase pressure it wouldn't blow out a few spots. But we can certainly put a whole lot more together. So I think I'm going to clean up some parts, let this set up a little bit, kind of do my thing, get some stuff staged so that when we come back, I'll drop some music on. Like I say, unless there's something important for me to babble about, we'll just kind of go through some assembly and yeah, we'll see where we get. Okay. Hopefully I've got enough stuff taken care of that I can minimize the number of times I have to take stuff back apart. But it's been so damn long since I did this. That I can't guarantee anything. And you just don't work on that many 550s. Okay. That's the oil line. Alright, that's going to go above. Alright. Okie dokie do. And it's not very often that I have to take one of these saws down to complete nothing like this. This is probably only the second. Normally the service work on one of these is going to be limited to dropping in a carb kit and a new intake boot. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, I hope I have one of those on hand. If not, we're going to be stopping at a certain point and waiting for one of those. Hey now. I didn't give you permission to do that, stupid. Okay. That completes the sawdust shield to keep the gobbledygook out of the engine side. Alright. Yeah, I didn't do anything extra in the way of cleanup on this thing when I took it apart, because I wasn't sure what Tim's intentions were going to be. So that is coming home to roost now. Again, after 6 months, there's plenty that I've had time to forget about the condition of the saw and the parts that needed to be cleaned up and all that other stuff, and what parts I might need. I think I'll be okay other than that intake boot. I might be okay on that too. I just don't remember. Alright, got a little wash basin out of that old piston for the boot retainer spring. We'll just rotate that once in a blue moon and soften all that trash up. Get all that old rubber out of the way. You don't want it there. Now this one, we're lucky it's not still gooey and nasty. It's solidified enough that it's a little easier to clean up. Acetone works wonders. If the black goo is still gooey, it's going to smear, and you're going to have to take multiple passes at cleaning it up, but at least it will clean it up. Alright. I think it's about time for me to fire up the computer, get a little music flying. You do want to make sure that you get your carburetor pulse hose on so that you can feed it up through there before you screw everything down. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that based on my cheat chart. Okay, I'm not sure exactly when the memory ran out, but I think I caught it fairly quickly. So we got a fresh memory card now. We'll get back to business. Alright, if you guys haven't gotten the picture of the kind of dance you've got to do here, you're gonna. So, you saw me putting this hose in, or nylon line. That's your pressure side of your manual oil pump, and you've got to get that in place with this pad down. You got to feed your carburetor pulse hose up through. You got to get that through into your air box. You saw me kind of roughly aligning these tabs so that they will align here. And then, you get into all the fun. I'm not going to put that all together just yet. You've also got to get your hoses situated for your tank. And then this throttle handle screws into the tank right there, and then everything ties together down below. I'll show you that in a little bit. But up here you've got to get everything kind of squared away. Oh shit, I did. That's what I did right there. Okay. That's why I hadn't put that in yet. You've got to get your automatic oiler supply, which somebody has upsized here for some reason. I don't know why. Or maybe Homelite did that, but that's just ridiculous. I've never seen Homelite bell a hose like that. Anyway, your automatic oiler supply has to run under this pad and connect to that barb right over there. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up or not, but the barb right there. And then your manual oiler supply comes into the air box right there, and it's going to run over to this port. Then your fuel hose is going to come through the grommet right here and connect to the carburetor. So it's a dance getting all this stuff in place without making a mistake and having to undo some stuff you've already done. So that's part of why I'm taking my time here and trying not to do that, because redoing work I've already done pisses me off. Just don't like doing it. So I'm going to load this tank up with some new hoses, figure out why the hell this has been upsized. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. I'll just use some thicker hose here. There's room to route it, but yeah, I don't recall seeing that on a 550 before, but who knows? I don't know everything, that's for damn sure. Alright, I think that's enough video for now. I've got a few tasks to perform. Namely, I need to find a spider. These screws were Loctited in, and they were just a flat blade screw. No bueno. One came out, one broke off, one had to be ground off. So that didn't go so well, and I'm not going to waste my time trying to extract those with a reverse bit. It'll just destroy the bit. So I'll replace the spider, transfer the chain catch over, figure out if the saw came with a bucking spike. I don't think. Judging by that grease line, I don't think there was one on there, but if there was, I got to figure out where the hell it is, because it's not in the box here. I'll go through the carb, mount the handle, but that's all the hard stuff right there. Remembering when to put that heat shield on, that's kind of a critical piece. You don't want to end up cussing and acting like an idiot the way I had to there, or chose to, whatever the case may be. Yeah, so you can see the importance of getting all your hoses in place and having them ready to go as you suck this together. It's all one combined stinking unit. There's one AV mount that's hidden behind my mount here. When I pull it off, I'll put a screw in that, because these are a 5-mount system. I checked for spark way back in the day, and it had spark then, so I'm hoping it has spark now. That would be an irritant if it did not, to say the least. But anyway, that's major assembly of a 550. All the rest of this is pretty basic. You got 4 screws for your starter. It just drops into place. Carburetor drops on. You've got to do the dance of hooking up your throttle linkages and choke, but you know, that's no big deal. Get your pulse line trimmed and set, fuel inlet line trimmed and set. Clutch is a pretty standard outboard clutch. That's why it has the cover plate that it uses. You can grease up your bearings, slide your sprocket on, clutch, boom. So next time I fire up the camera, it's going to be for a test run on this thing, and we'll keep our fingers crossed everything goes smooth from here. Okay, so everything's back together. This sat for quite a bit longer than I had anticipated, and it's been a busy week, which included me buying a new-to-me truck. So we'll do a video on that later, but let's just say that there's a 2020 Chevy half-ton out there with that nice 3-liter diesel in it, and so far 100 miles in, I have no regrets about that purchase. But we're talking chainsaws. I've reset this to roughly where I expect the carb ought to be happy. Let's see if she wants to play ball. Guess I ought to see if she's pulled fuel yet. Oh yeah. Alright, well, I guess I'll leave you set. Okay. Whew. Well, I'll wait until it's morning, late morning, not late morning, late enough that my neighbors don't totally hate me tomorrow to finish breaking this in, or at least setting the rings initially. I have zero concerns about where this thing is at right now. I am super stoked by how it's running. It's idling nice and low, exactly where I want it to be. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're there. Compression is huge, and it's burned off the assembly oil by now. You guys saw the smoke at first. This is just, that's fundamentals of this engine now, so we're on the right track. In fact, we're there. So like I say, I'll finish breaking it in tomorrow, but for all intents and purposes, I'm going to call it fixed.